Algebra 1, Lesson 1.4, Literal Equations and Formulas. Your objective, write this down in your notes. Students will be able to rewrite and use literal equations to solve problems. All right, let's get started. All right, first some vocab. Write this down. Formula. What is a formula? A formula is a rule written mostly using math symbols or variables. We can say variables. Okay. What's a literal equation? It's an equation that is mostly written in symbols and variables. You know, these two seem like the same, but a formula has this distinction here. It's a rule, and a formula is a type of literal equation. Okay, so formula is like a subset of literal equations. So now on to solving literal equations. Let's do this. Here it says solve for x. This is easy. I'm going to remove this positive 12 by subtracting 12 from both sides. I get y minus 12 equals x. I am done. That's a rule. X is related to y such that it is 12 less than y. Okay, example number 2. Write all the examples in your notes, by the way. N equals 4/5 times m plus 7. Solve for m. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is what? I see parentheses. That's right. I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to rewrite. I got n equals 4/5 m plus 28 over 5. That's what you get when you multiply 4 over 5 times 7 over 1. You go straight across. 4 times 7 is 28. 5 times 1 is 5. Okay. I need to get the m by itself, so I'm going to subtract my fraction from both sides. Okay. This goes away, and I get n minus 28 over 5 equals 4/5 m. This is the tricky part. Let's do this in one step. If I have a fraction that's being multiplied by my variable, I can multiply by the reciprocal. Wow, there's no 3. I don't even know why I wrote that. Multiply both sides by the reciprocal. What's important is I have to multiply everything on both sides. So notice I wrote parentheses around n minus 28 fifths. These guys cancel, and I'm left with just one m. Over on the left, I have 4/5 n minus 28 times 4 is 112 over 25. I'm going to double check my math. Yeah, I'm good to go. So my final solution, or my final answer, is this formula here. 4/5 times n, that's how we read that, minus 112 over 25 equals m. My last example seemed complicated, but it's not, it's just fractions. So I still have a left side and a right side. A times x plus b equals c. Solve for x. So x is here. And it's this guy is my problem, b. So I'm adding b, so I'm gonna subtract b from both sides to make that go away. Now I have a times x equals c minus b. Since I'm multiplying the x by a, I'm going to divide both sides by a. And you notice that I wrote my division bar under the entire right side. That's the proper way to divide. If I divide the left by a, I have to divide the entire right by a. So my final answer is c minus b over a. It can also be written as c divided by a. What just happened? C divided by a minus b over a equals x. Both of these are correct. Sorry about the little messing up the screen there. And lastly, this is our last example. I have negative 3 times x plus 2 times c equals negative 3. And they want me to solve for x. So x is here on the left. I need to get it alone, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove anything that is attached to it that uses addition or subtraction. So I have addition here. So I'm going to subtract 2c from both sides. Anything minus itself is 0. I have 3x, 3 times x equals negative 3 minus 2c. Now I have negative 3 times x. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. Anything divided by itself is 1. And I'm going to get x equals negative 3 minus 2c over negative 3. There's a lot of negatives going on here. So what I am going to do is I'm going to factor this a little bit, rewrite it. Negative 3 over negative 3 minus 2 over negative 3c. This cancels, that becomes 1. This negative and this negative cancel to become a positive, so I go 1 plus 2/3 times c. It's my final answer. You can also leave it like this. It's just a lot of negatives, okay? I can factor a negative. Let's try it. I can factor a negative out of the top and a negative out of the bottom. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is just 1, and that's how I can get these as positives. Don't let the little equations kind of trip you up because it's mostly letters and we don't get a clean, simple solution. Just remember what's important, okay? Remember to use inverse operations to get the variable that you're trying to solve for and get it by itself, okay? Remember, what's the inverse of addition? You should say subtraction. What's the inverse of division? You should say multiplication, okay? So your assignment for this lesson is going to be found on page 28 and 29 of your textbook. You're going to do number 11, 13 through 28 all, and I want you to take a crack at number 35. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Take care.